Creation of the Mont Pelerin Society in 1947, a closed debating society organized by Friedrich Hayek, which convened its very first meeting on this day, April 1st, 72 years ago. The Mont Pelerin Society laid the groundwork for a highly organized and well-financed front against all forms of government intervention, but especially Keynesian embedded liberalism. Keynes's death in 1946 and the fervent anti-communist era of the Cold War provided fertile ground for neoliberalism to grow in the shadow of embedded liberalism. The second phase of neoliberalism took place in America and Europe between 1950 and 1980. This phase was marked by several developments in neoliberal thought and organization. Close partnership between neoliberal academics and wealthy corporate backers enabled potent neoliberal ideas to emanate from prestigious university economics departments, especially in Chicago. These same corporate backers also weaponized a new political institution, dubbed the think tank, which pushed the research produced by these neoliberal economists and supplemented it with mountains of their own neoliberal policies and critiques from outside of academia that were intended for use by journalists and politicians. It was also during this era that neoliberalism shed all of the few social elements contained in its earlier forms, including anti-monopoly regulation and social safety nets, in favor of treating corporate monopolies as benign, seeking deregulation of all government functions and private industries, and relentlessly eroding the power of labor unions. This newer, more aggressive strain of neoliberalism was laser-focused on accumulating intellectual and scientific legitimacy, which provided cover for its frequent collaborations with right-wing dictators, especially in Latin America. This era included the creation of the Nobel Prize in Economic Sciences in 1968, a prize that was conceived for the express purpose of raising the profile of neoliberal economics. It also included the Pinochet coup in Chile in 1973, a CIA-backed coup aided by neoliberal Chilean economists trained by Mont Pelerin members. This era culminated in the global stagflation crisis of the 1970s, which provided the opening for neoliberalism to crack the Keynesian consensus and propel Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan to victory. The third phase of neoliberalism constitutes the actual neoliberal revolution, which took place all over the world between 1980 and 2008. Thatcher and Reagan each aggressively initiated neoliberal policies in the US and the UK, and then globally through the conversions of the post-war institutions, the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, into neoliberal organizations that spread neoliberalism through the structural adjustment policies imposed on financially struggling countries. It was during this era that the accomplishments of embedded liberalism began to be stripped away. The rates of unemployment, poverty, productivity, corporate profits, wealth inequality, incarceration, and military spending began to climb, while tax rates for the top income tax bracket were slashed, and wages for everyday people began to stagnate. The Bretton Woods international monetary system eventually collapsed, creating the possibility for rapid financial globalization across national borders to occur. It was also during this phase that neoliberalism not only spread over the world, but took on idiosyncratic attributes of its home countries. At first, American neoliberalism fused neoliberal antipathy towards regulation, welfare, unions, and taxes with the radical evangelical Christian cultural politics found in the conservative Republican Party, which campaigned against non-white immigration, abortion, gun laws, gay marriage, and the teaching of evolution